The Negro Justice League.
Welcome to the Negro Justice League, a Black Nerd podcast, episode 77. It's your boy Jay.
And I'm Cherry.
And we'll have special guest Jaslyn with us later on when we're discussing Aquaman. Let's jump right into the news.
All right, I'm going to start off with the news. Punisher has been announced for a season 2 on Netflix. This comes as a surprise because Netflix is chopping down all of their Marvel shows systematically one by one. I think all we have left is Jessica Jones at this point. And Punisher, apparently. I have a feeling that they've already recorded this and they just go ahead and release it before they cancel the show. And honestly, Punisher, I watched the entire series and I love John Bernthal and I love him as Punisher, but I don't really need a season 2 of him alone. I would like to see him come back and join the rest of the group and be, an ensemble. I don't know that I want a Punisher season 2, but we're going to get it and it's coming in January. Jay, go ahead.
So speaking of things that we're going to have to get no matter what, Facebook has unfortunately had another privacy scandal starting. I feel like at this point we get a privacy scandal from Facebook every other month. Mm-hmm. This one is involved with an API bug for the photo part of Facebook's developing system where they were basically having issues for like 12 days where Facebook was even uploading pictures you never even shared. Like maybe you had in a saved file or maybe you put them in a private picture, gallery on your Facebook, but it was sharing it instead. Facebook, of course, just said, hey, our bad. And expect over the next few days, possibly, if you were one of the people affected, I think it was over 5 million people affected, you'll receive something in your Facebook notifications explaining what happened and to take a look. So, we use Facebook a lot. It's kind of hard not to in today's world. I think almost everybody has it who really is into that whole social media thing. But every day it seems like more and more information is coming out that's showing that it is not the social network we should be using.
You should even have it on your phone, to be honest. Like it takes your microphone and, your conversations and yeah, it's taking a lot of information and selling it, giving it to advertisers. We just don't know. So honestly, we should probably delete the app, but who's going to do it?
Yeah, just use the web browser. It's fine. That's kind of what I've been doing over every now and then. Sometimes I have to do the app just because, but honestly, it's better just to delete it from your phones. Good news, though, something that we're interested in. Jordan Peele's newest movie, Us, has another poster release. This one is showing, we have it on our Facebook pages. It's kind of like the other one, doesn't show too much, but it's clearly a black person, likely a woman, in a really red velvet Christmas type outfit with big golden scissors with just the words us on it. The good news is Jordan Peele has said the actual trailer will be released on Christmas Day. And who's starring it is Lupita Nyong'o, Winston Duke, Elizabeth Moss, with basically the discussion is a family goes to their kind of like Christmas or beach home to meet some friends and some people show up unexpectedly and that's where the story goes. It sounds similar to a lot of kind of movies we've seen where people show up as strangers and the house is all dangerous because of that. But knowing Jordan Peele is going to have something flipped on that, I'm really interested in seeing what that's going to be about. So the trailer is something we are going to be really looking forward to on Christmas Day. At least I am. Speaking of something that no one expected, but yet somehow it is officially here, Aquaman. Aquaman has already made over $260 million overseas. It is the number one movie ever, basically, in China. It is still going strong there. I think over 160 of it is just in China alone. It hasn't even fully released in the States yet until next week or so. They're doing special Amazon Prime membership, things like that. But yeah, 260 million overseas already. That pretty much means it's going to get a billion once it hits States, which is just ridiculous to think about, even if it is or isn't a good movie. Because it's Aquaman.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't support Aquaman? You don't support your boo, Jason Momoa?
He's not really my boo. Like, I recognize that he's attractive, but you don't see me really fawning over him too much. He's too much of a bro. That stuff ain't cute to me.
Okay, we're just gonna.
I like bros. I don't like bros.
Because I was about to say, your boy Michael B. Jordan is definitely a black bro. You know he is. Feel it in your heart.
No, I'm not about to disagree. Okay.
All right, so that's all the news we have.
Actually, I have one more thing I just thought of. If I can throw some, I just thought of this news in. Taylor Swift, who we never, ever, ever talk about, but Jay made me think about this when he was talking about Facebook. At her last concert, if you know about her, well, whatever. She has stalkers. She has like real deal stans. And so at her last concert, she put up a kiosk, or her people put up a kiosk that showed behind the scenes footage of her getting ready, practicing for the show. And while people were looking at the kiosk, they had facial recognition technology scanning these people's faces while they were standing there watching the footage to see if any of those people were her stalkers, so that she could pinpoint and identify the stalkers in the crowd. And I guess security would be aware of them. So that's brought up some issues because nobody signed a consent form for that. And nobody was ever made aware of it. I don't even know how we found out, but it wasn't like hey, stand here and look at this and get your face scanned. They were just showing videos. And I guess a stalker would want to see behind the scenes footage. So they scanned everybody's faces who was watching it.
But even if you weren't a stalker, like if you were just a huge fan who was, fan is fanatics. So all of a sudden you might be considered a stalker if she's seeing you and all the other things. I mean, no one wants a stalker, but that's just scary.
Yeah. I don't think that she was trying to see who was showing up too much. I think it was like she has known stalkers and was scanning faces to see if person A showed up in the concert.
Okay.
So that they would pinpoint them.
That makes
still not cool. Because you're scanning faces of people who don't know without their consent.
And facial recognition means that has to be stored somewhere.
It's stored somewhere.
All of a sudden you have me connected and
to a Taylor Swift concert.
Like, what if I go to a Taylor Swift concert and I'm like, hey, I don't mess with Taylor Swift, and then all of a sudden your facial recognition sees me first row just screaming all her songs. Like, I don't need that.
I don't like that. If you're going to do that, you need to tell people when they buy their tickets. But if they tell people when they buy their tickets, they're just going to put it in a long form of words.
Where you're not even going to recognize it.
And there's going to be one line in there, hey, if you show up, we're going to scan your face. Like, whatever.
Yeah, forever.
Right, and we're going to keep it in a repository, so if something goes down, we'll hand it over to law enforcement. You know how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that sucks. But, I mean, Taylor Swift has a reputation for doing trash stuff, and so here we are.
I'm really glad, if you're going to bring up Taylor Swift, I'm really glad we did not discuss, although we're going to discuss it now, the fact that she kind of won over some black folks when she decided to, tell people to vote Democrat. And people were almost like, oh, we need to introduce her to the cookout and everything. It's like, what?
They inviting everybody to the cookout now. I don't even know if I'm gonna go. It's one of them who I'm gonna be there.
Y'all invite one more kind of cool colonizer to this cookout. Y'all can just forget my plate. I'm gonna just eat at home.
I'm good because it ain't even cookout no more. Now we having a picnic and I don't want to go.
Yeah, and you know what picnic means? It means pick up.
All right now. All right.
Yeah, gotta white people if you want to.
I'm saying, and then they start drinking and stuff. You know my rule. Anyway, alcohol come out. I gotta go.
Y'all want to play jump rope? No.
See y'all later. All right. Yeah. So we're going to talk about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and then we're going to talk about Aquaman. Spider-Man's going to take us to about the 20, maybe 25 mark, depending on how deep we get into it. Aquaman will come after that. I'm going to step out of the room for the Aquaman concert, let Jay wrap it up from there, but I will be here for your Spider-Man, and Jaslyn will be joining us at the Aquaman. So me and her are going to do a little swap, flip, flop. So, Spider-Man. What made me want to see this movie more than anything, more than there being Miles Morales, more than me liking Spider-Man, was the visuals. When I saw the first trailer, I was just like blown away. Like, this movie is gorgeous. And then when I saw the end credits for Venom, we got more Spider-Man. Again, movie, the style was amazing. And I stand by that. I paid extra to see this movie in IMAX 3D just because I want to get the full experience of seeing exactly how beautiful this movie is, and I think it was worth it. While the 3D wasn't as D as it usually is, there's a little short on the D this time, it was still beautiful. I don't know that you necessarily have to go see it in 3D, but it was definitely amazing.
Yeah, I didn't see it in 3D, but I did use the AMC Dolby Cinema recliner chairs that have like the audio and haptic feedback, and I think that definitely enhanced the movie, not just the visuals, but the audio of it. It really did make me feel at times, although it's totally gimmicky, I really did feel more invested because of it, just because of how the movie uses visualization and audio so well to tell the story.
So you like that vibrating chair?
It was amazing. I might buy one for myself, honestly.
Okay. I do think that if this movie wins any award, the award that it should win is for visual arts, art direction, whatever, those types of
Hmm.
things, because it is really stands alone in the style. This
Animation,
is
definitely.
this is
Yeah.
the first animated series of anything I've ever seen that actually looks like I'm watching a live comic. We've had other styles that have come close, other cartoons.
Cell shading a little bit.
Yeah, but this was perfect. It was like you opened a comic book and it just began to move.
Hmm.
It was beautiful. It's hard to even explain exactly how amazing it is. Even to look at like if someone had a flashlight, the light beams had the little dots in it. Like it was so much attention to detail, and the colors were beautiful.
Vibrant. They
It
used
was
a
vibrant.
lot of colors too.
Even though a lot of this took place at night, which you know I have a problem with dark movies. Even though it took place at night, there were still a lot of pinks and purples, and it was very vibrant, even no matter what time of day it was. And I really appreciate that. Another thing visually that I loved were the hair textures. You know, black folks on any type of animation, nobody can ever draw our hair. Miles is black Hispanic, so he's got like a curly fro. And not only does he just have a shape, he doesn't have like a shapeless fro. It has a little high top situation, but you can see the curls. You can see that he has big, thick black curls in his hair.
Yeah, he be using that brush that you see everybody just kind of spinning their head
Yeah,
around
she was
with.
using it.
Yeah.
But also Mary Jane, she has white textured hair. It's straight. She has red hair. It was beautiful. Like her to see each individual strand, and she had these big, beautiful body curls in the back. That was pretty. So everybody, they really paid attention to detail. And if you know anything about animation, hair is often the hardest part because it takes a lot of attention to detail. It takes a lot of processing power, even to get individual strands of hair to do their own thing. So I really appreciate that.
I think they said actually that not only did the movie cost like almost $100 million, but they spent almost twice as much time creating the movie in terms of animators because of the details we're talking about. Not just the style of the movie, which is something Sony created themselves basically in house, but the the coloring, the lighting, the textures of the hair, all of that they really wanted to make perfect, and it shows.
Right, and we talk about comic book movies like the MCU being comic book movies. Now those are live action movies based on comics. This was a comic book movie, like through and through. And that was why I showed up. To be honest with you. That being said, the cast. We talk about how much money they spent on this. A lot of that money went to getting these people to show up. Like Shamik Moore, if you're familiar with him from like Dope. And I forgot what he did after that.
Dope 2, the Electric Boogaloo? No,
No,
I
I
don't know
don't.
from Dope.
He's
Sorry.
he's kind of adorable. He was Miles Morales, and he did a great job. I think he really sounded like a teenager, like a black teenager. Through the whole movie, I was really impressed with him because he doesn't have like a huge repertoire of stuff. So it was awesome. Who I show up for, of course, always is Mahershala Ali. He played Prowler, aka Uncle whatever. What Uncle what?
Hmm?
Prowler, his Uncle Aaron.
Aaron.
Yeah. His animation was great. I was like, okay, Uncle Aaron. All right. So he looked good. Not just that he looked good, like he actually looked like a black man. Like he wasn't just a man that was colored black. He had the features, the head, the nose of a brother.
He was super. Like, I even love the fact that they had him wearing Tim's during one of the scenes. Like, I think it was when they were going towards
Yeah.
the tagging situation. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is definitely a black dude from New York, Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy type area. They really kept it realistic, and he almost had, although his nose wasn't like Marshall, you could see his swag. Like,
Yeah. 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 It was almost like they motion captured it. I don't think they did,
yeah,
but it was like
they did it, but
they swag captured him.
They motion capture his swag.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, could you just give us your clout this way and then this way so we can?
How would you do this? Moving on, Brian Tyree Henry, who y'all know I'm crazy about. Not on like a that's my boo level, but I really enjoy him as an actor. He's from Atlanta and some other stuff. He played what's his name? Miles's
Jefferson.
daddy, which I've always had an issue with this freaking character. Jefferson Davis. Why will you name a black man Jefferson Davis? And they know that that's problematic. And so I would think, yes. And so I would think making this movie that you would say, hey, let's call him something else. But honestly, they didn't say his name a lot. Like they called him Dad a lot. So I don't even know how much they referred to him as Jefferson Davis.
It was only that one time when the mom Rio was talking to him, like when he was trying to give Miles that whole "you got to be responsible" speech, and she's like Jefferson, and pulled him aside. But other than that, it was. But Dad.
She didn't call him by his whole name, so I don't know. I do think either they changed their character's name or stop using it. And if y'all listening to this and you don't know why a black man shouldn't be named Jefferson Davis, I'm not gonna be the one to tell you. Go ahead and get on Google.com and figure that one out for yourself. Then write us a letter. All right. Speaking of the wife. That was Luna Lauren Velez. She is the black Hispanic woman on everything. It's like that. I like her. I like her a lot. I've always liked her.
The black Hispanic woman on everything.
I've always liked her. But I'm like, she's not the only one. There's a whole bunch of them out there. Why her? Can we get some more representation?
Who else? Name
I don't
one
know.
other
That's
person.
the thing. Every single movie, if you need a black Hispanic woman, every movie, every show, that's who they go for.
It's either her or it's the woman who plays in Orange is the New Black. She's the new one. She's the new one. Yeah. But Luna Lauren, she's been around for a long time. Like she was in Oz. I like her though. I like her a whole lot. I'm just saying, can we get some representation? So apparently Zoe Kravitz was in here. She was MJ, I guess. I don't care. One of my favorite characters was a Spider-Man noir, and that was Nicolas Cage. Because he was just like so extra. But did you know it was Nick?
No. I looked that up later and I was like, how'd I miss that? Because he was one of my favorite characters in the movie.
I'm a Nick Cage fan, so the fact that I did not recognize his voice until I had to look at it later was really interesting. Right. But also because they kept that kind of hidden. I don't think people knew Nick Cage was going to be playing Spider-Man Noir before the movie came out.
Right. I didn't know that, and I enjoy Nick Cage as well, and I didn't know until I looked it up. I said, wait, and now I liked that character. So that was odd.
He was a very funny character, considering he was supposed to be so grimdark, which was even funny in itself.
Yeah, and I felt like he was there for the adults, because a lot of his stuff would like go over a kid's head. Like I don't think my son thought he was funny or even mildly entertaining at all.
Your son was looking at the pigs?
Yeah, he liked Spider Pig, which not Spider Ham. Spider Pig is from Simpsons. I can just call him So anyway, Catherine Hahn, who is from Step Brothers and is painfully hilarious, was in this movie. She was What's in Doc Ock. I like having a lady Doc Ock since we're doing different universes. Well, I'll throw that in there. Liv Shriver, who was in X-Men, one of the bad ones. He was the brother.
Sabretooth.
Yeah, Sabretooth. He was your boy,
Ray
the baby.
Donovan.
He was the baby.
He was Kingpin?
Yeah. He was the baby. Who in this even looked like a giant baby. Like, he's like a massive. Why did they make him so big? My son looked over to me in the middle of the movie and goes, why is he built like that?
He looks like he was about to jump into the Kanye West and Lil Pump video with the shoulders.
Yeah. He was like,
but that's part of the whole comic book movie thing. That's, that strangely exaggerated body type that just does not make sense.
Which I was happy to see a Green Goblin that was actually a Green Goblin and not a man with a costume on. It was actually a legit Green Goblin. I appreciated seeing that. Chris Pine, they threw in this movie without telling nobody. He was one of the Peter Parkers. I think the original Peter Parker was Chris Pine. Yeah,
the perfect Peter.
Yeah. So this is funny. Marvin Jones. You know who he is. He is your boy off Black Lightning. Tobias. He's Tobias Well. He's albino in real life and on Black Lightning. And he plays Tombstone.
He's albino on real life and Black Lightning.
Yes. But look, he plays Tombstone, who is an albino character. Why do you have to get a real albino man to play Tombstone? That little attention to detail.
Authenticity, Cherry. Authenticity.
I was weak.
Who else is going to be able to speak like an albino except somebody who's an albino? Come on now.
I was like,
It's all about representation.
y'all really went the extra mile and got.
Listen, if they would have had someone not playing an albino who was albino, we would be talking about appropriation on this podcast. So they're like, we ain't gonna have nobody talk no mess. So we have Tombstone here. He's albino, played by an albino. Say something. Say something.
Marvin Jones actually has an amazing voice. I don't think that they really utilized it in this movie to the extent that
He said 2 lines.
Yeah, he needs to do some real voice acting because he's got a good voice, a good villain voice.
Yeah.
So that's there's other people in this movie, but I don't feel like talking about them because those are the people that I wanted to discuss.
Really, you're not even gonna talk about Jake Johnson, who played like the Spider-Man that we basically had the entire movie. He is second billed with.
Who is that?
He's the one who played.
I mean, I understand who he is in this movie, but who is he?
He's in the new. He's basically known for the New Girl show, which is hilarious, by the way. You should watch it. He plays a character named Nick, who's pretty similar to how he played Spider-Man in a little ways, but he's known.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
You horrible. Well, I'm gonna say Jake Johnson did an amazing.
Jake Johnson from the New Girl.
Yeah. I didn't expect him to do as well because I do know him from New Girl, and I didn't think he was going to have the gravitas to play Peter Parker. But he did it well. I think a lot of the emotional beats came from him in his discussion with Miles, and he was funny, which was what Peter needs to be, especially as Spider-Man. So I enjoyed him.
He was all right. He wasn't bad. It's just the character is just depressing. He was just a bum.
He's 35-year-old. Well, no, I think he was 40-year-old Spider-Man. Like, do you think you could be Spider-Woman for 20 years and not be just like, I'm just tired of it?
I like that he had a good. That cracked me up. They talked about pulling Tobey Maguire into this, which I think would have been really a nice touch, but they didn't. So there's that.
Yeah. Especially since they used a lot of Raimi Spider-Man in this. Not so much the Amazing Spider-Man or even MCU Spider-Man, but Raimi was given love.
We were also There've also been some discussion about pulling MCU Spider-Man in. That just came out today, so I'm not too well versed on what that means. But there was some talk about Tom Holland having to be involved in this world.
I mean, the whole movie created a whole Spider-Verse, multiverse, where you could have every single movie, even if it's not done by them, tied to them, simply because it is a Spider-Man movie. So it's possible. Yeah.
It would have been kind of cool to see at least just a clip, like an Easter egg or something of a real person, of like Tobey Maguire, live action, his actual face, because everybody was stylistically matched to where they came from. Like not everyone was drawn in this comic book style. Like the Spider-Ham was drawn like an actual cartoon, and Noir was black and white. So to have an actual person, to have Tobey Maguire's real face for like a split second would have been cool.
Nice little Easter egg.
Yeah, for those of us that grew up on that Spider-Man, that would have been interesting. All right, let's talk about the storyline really quickly. My problem with this movie, there was a post on Facebook by Jay that said this is the best movie of the year.
For me, I need to make sure that's iterated before she throws me under this bus.
Yes, here it comes. It's an 18-wheeler. Yeah, that girl fine, but this girl killer. Anyway,
669.
Black Panther came out in 2018.
Did
you
it
know
though?
that, right? You know that, right?
Did it though?
Panther not only
it came out 2016.
It not only had the visuals, it had the amazing cast. Everybody and their mama killed it, and it had the storyline. That's what separates Black Panther and makes it above and beyond everything that ever came out. Is the storyline. This movie's storyline was as basic as it comes, and there was a period of time in here where I was like, all right, let's move it along. Yeah, it was just a regular coming of age type story. It did not come to the level of Black Panther. Did not even rise to the level of its visuals. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you could even try that.
I disagree, because as much as I love Black Panther, and I love Black Panther, I could watch it right now again and love it. I know there's some faults to it that I recognized even then, and I definitely recognize now. That third ending battle between him and Killmonger was
not talking about Black
trash.
Panther.
It was trash. It was a purple Black Panther and a gold Black Panther in a dark tunnel kicking each other while a train passed by.
We're here for Spider-Man. We're here for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Tell me why Spider-Man is better.
Spider-Man was better because at no time um, did it not do everything to its best of a degree as perfectly as it can. The storyline, yes, the storyline is basic, but because it's so basic, they really made sure to concentrate on the characterization, on the emotional punches, on the audios, which is why I feel like the third fight, the major, that was beautiful. That was amazing in so
Wasn't
many
Kingpin's
ways.
just walking around and Spider Man's
No,
jumping over trains?
from the camera showing how he's spinning around, from the audios of the city building in and out of itself, the different colors, the Jack Kirby like black dots, all of that was really amazing to me.
You like the black
The
dots?
fact that when Miles is hiding from his uncle, and you're every time the uncle's doing something, I was feeling scared. There was jump scares when Prowler finally had Miles' mask off and he could see that this was his nephew, and like, oh man, I'm all of those were really strong points that I agreed with. And audio wise, like the way they use sound is just not something a live action movie, like we said, could do. So I
But you're
love Black
sitting in
Panther.
a special surround sound seat too.
True. Which is why I'm saying this movie is the best movie for me so far. Maybe in a few days, after the whole excitement of it will wear off, but I can watch Black Panther even then. I could be like, this could have been done better. I don't see too many things that Spider Verse could have done better, especially with it being so much of a risk to do all the things that they did, and it
But
worked.
Black Panther, their storyline did more. And so there's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of spaces because the movie was super long and they had to edit it down. And so and I talked about this. A lot of the
Hmm.
editing of Black Panther made it struggle in spots where it shouldn't necessarily have done so.
Hmm.
This movie was so simple that it didn't have that problem. But that doesn't, to me, make it a better movie.
I think for me, this is a better movie, but Black Panther is still more important. I
I'm sorry. He
just,
got quiet because I was giving him a look. Y'all couldn't see that.
yeah, yeah. I think Black Panther is more important. It was definitely for the culture. It was having a black superhero, a 90% all black amazing cast. So it is a more important movie. But if you're just talking about Jay's personal enjoyment of what he would love to see, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse hit all my check marks.
Your checks suck. Speaking of being for the culture, this movie started out for the culture. It started
Hmm.
out with Biggie. It started out with the ones he was wearing the J's almost, I think, the whole movie. Again, Mahershala was unapologetically black uncle.
Hmm.
His daddy was good. There was a lot. I like the positive black masculinity. I like
Hmm.
that. Even though he had a mom, he still had this strong. He had a bond with his father that a lot of times you won't see represented in the movie unless the mother's gone.
Hmm.
I appreciate seeing this boy being raised by two strong black men. I did like that, but somewhere in the movie, as we began to bring in other Spider-Man, we lost the blackness. Um, we lost touch with that. I'm not that that's a criticism of the movie. It's just something that I noticed is like we lost it.
Yeah, I think I agree in terms of when it's just Miles by himself, it's hard not to because he is a black kid, Afro Latino kid. But when you have all these other Spider-Mans and it's talking about this fantastical world that isn't generally part of a black world, it just loses that aspect. It starts dealing with Peter and his life. And Peter, his aunt's a white woman who sometimes is Jewish, or in the new live action is Italian. His girlfriend's a redhead, so there's not too many color other than Miles. Even his roommate, who was Chinese, his name should be what is it, Gape or Gab? He was only seen a little bit, but not really. The only time you really did, like you said here, is when he was around his uncle. The few times with his dad, the most I ever saw it actually was that initial time we saw Miles when he was walking through his neighborhood, and you could just feel coming from a colored neighborhood, black, Latino. You
Did you
saw
say colored?
yeah. I didn't know how else to say it because it's not just a black neighborhood,
Yeah.
but it was definitely a multi.
He came from a colored neighborhood.
Yeah, he came from a colored neighborhood.
We got a title.
Yeah, yeah. Your friendly neighborhood colored spider.
I think even when we talk about losing the blackness, I think we lose a little bit of Miles even in this story. We it's called Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, so I guess it's not about Miles. And for a solid portion of the movie, it was not about Miles. And I kind of was annoyed because I like Miles. I wanted more of
You
him.
wanted more of.
Hmm.
I like the fact that even though this was an origin story, they tried to make it not so by having the other well-established know how to fight Spider-Man. Because I really feel like we didn't see Miles Morales Spider-Man until the third part, when he finally takes that leap of faith, so to speak, and he finally decides what he's going to be. And that helps. That's awesome because it makes me feel like the next Spider-Man movie will be able to see more of Miles. Because for me, the whole movie is about who are you? You know?
Yeah, when you talk about that leap of faith, it just brought up. There was a solid portion of the movie where in my head I was like, the rest of Spider-Man are trash. I understand that to them, having gone through this, they feel like he needs to do his own coming of age thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was still annoyed that they weren't at all supportive. I get what they were trying to do, but I maintain that all the other Spider-Men they're being buttholes to him unnecessarily.
Could it not be the fact though that they only had like a 12-hour window to even make this work? You can't.
Yeah,
There's
we
a
have time
lot
to
going
baby
on.
him.
Yeah. Which is kind of what like Gwen Stacy was trying to say. Like, listen, he's new to this. We all know what he's kind of going through, and they're like, yeah, but if we don't take care of this, we're gonna die soon. So we can't help him right now.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, well we gotta wrap it up because you and Jaslyn gotta do the Aquaman dance.
Facts.
Where do you give this A through F? I think I already know since you think it's better than freaking Black Panther.
I'm gonna give it an A. I know I gave Black Panther an A plus because Black Panther was for the culture and it needed to happen. This movie is a solid A for me. I will watch it just as much. It was great, but I think part of it is no one expected this to happen, and the fact that it was so good just makes it really stand out. But not an A plus. It doesn't have that type of importance to me, but it's a solid A.
I'm surprised. I was expecting A plus.
I know you were.
I'm gonna give it an A minus. The A is for the visual. The visuals get an A plus. Plus, they're the best visuals like ever, and my favorite. Probably they might be my favorite visuals of a movie. They're beautiful. The cast gets an A, but the storylines just. That's why we watch movies, is for the story. At the end of the day, as beautiful as it is, we're here for the story. And it just, to me, was fair. Like, it really didn't engage me too much. I did struggle with watching his uncle get shot. And that's a personal thing as far as just where we are in America right now. It's just hard to see a black man get shot. It's just difficult. The story didn't even have to be good. You just shoot a black man and I'm going to be touched. Because that's where we are
Even
in
an
life.
animated one.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who it is. Just that, and that's not fair. Like you throw that in there, it's automatically like. But so yeah, the storyline just didn't really do it for me. Yeah, all right, that's all. That's all I got.
Yeah. I almost
wait.
cried when his dad met him at the door and he was like, "You ain't got to say nothing. You ain't got to say you love me." Like oh man, that almost had me have a few tears that make me feel like I need to call my dad and be like, "I love you. I don't talk to you, but I love you." But yeah.
Yeah, that didn't.
It's nice.
That didn't give me the shot. The Prowler getting shot. I was like, "This is what we gotta do." Like, because there was a second where it's like, "Are you know who he is? Are you still gonna kill him?" That's where I was like, "Where are we going?"
Right.
Because he had his hand around his throat just looking at him. I was like, "What are we doing?" And then he gave up. Busting that. I will say that this Kingpin, I thoroughly hated, and not even in an enjoyable. He's a good villain, love to hate way. Like I just hated him. Which is, I guess that was the intent, but he just disgusted me as a person. And it needs to come from somebody who loves the villain. Baby. Yeah, he needs to change his nappy. All right, we're gonna switch it over. Y'all go ahead and take Aquaman from here.
All right, guys. So, like Cherry said, she is not going to be on this part of the podcast. We're going to be discussing Aquaman for the next 15 to 20 minutes or so. But Jaslyn is here. What's going on, Jaslyn?
What's good, everybody?
So we are just going to jump right into it. Aquaman came out, obviously, and we wanted to discuss it, especially since it was a very heavy comic book last few weeks with Into the Spider-Verse Spider-Man with Miles Morales, and then this. So, Jaslyn, I will give you first talk since we didn't hear you on the first part. general feelings on Aquaman, especially like the visuals and everything.
Okay. Overall, Aquaman was a solid movie. I don't have too many bad things to say about it. The visuals were nice. The colors was a nice touch. It was smooth with the transitions. They did a solid story base. I mean, it was long because they definitely covered the entire like origin of everything, which was fine. But the graphics were good. A lot of CGI, but not to a point where it was gaudy.
Hmm.
I I liked it. I was cracking up with some of the zooming in transitions because like every 2 seconds they were zooming in on somebody's face, dramatic music. Then next one, zoom in on somebody's face, dramatic music, and they would go. But it wasn't in a bad kind of way, if
Right.
that makes sense. Like because it's a hero movie, you kind of expect that. Everything's overexpressed, so like it was tasteful with it. So
Yeah, I think part of that is just James Wan himself, the way
yeah,
he films, especially, everybody knows, well, everybody should know now, James Wan has been doing the Conjuring movies. And with that being a horror
yeah,
series, there's a lot of jump cuts. There's a lot of zooming in because that is part of the aesthetic with how he does horror to allow it to have that kind of scary factor without always needing a monster right then and there. Um,
true.
so he used that a lot in Aquaman. He used a lot of, which people did complain about, the whole people having a conversation and then a random explosion happening, and then the whole conversation, which is again a kind of a jump cut, a horror movie genre type thing, just translated to action. I don't think he's ever done something like this, so maybe I definitely think he will learn. He doesn't have to do so many things like that for action movies,
Because it
or
was a lot.
it was. But he clearly has a very strong eye for visuals and how things should look. Because when he does good, it is really good.
Mhm.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when Aquaman and Mera are diving through the ocean with the whole trench monsters, and they're
Oh yeah, that part was good.
that was beautiful. That could have almost been a horror movie type thing in itself. And truth be told, that whole scene was very horror movie like. Are they gonna
Yeah.
make it? Is the light gonna go out? The smartness of when the light went out. A scene previously, Aquaman had already taken um,
He took
an extra flare because of that. So there was
yeah,
even a level of he's intelligent even though everybody calls him Bro Aquaman for the
which
fear.
mind you, I actually love that Aquaman's a bro because not to cut you off,
Mm.
but that because when I think of like these movies coming out with Aquaman and everybody, it reminds me of back in the day with Super Friends. And so you've got like the entire Justice League, everybody's like this super righteous
Hmm.
gun ho, oh, go to save the day. And
Hmm.
like but with the new turn that they're taking on the Justice League, like there's more fleshing out of the personalities because like Batman is a drunk. He doesn't mind getting his hands dirty, which
Batman's
I
a
don't
drunk.
mind. Yeah, in the Justice League, Batman had drinking issues. He's a drunk. We can argue about that later. But
We
like
surely
with
shall.
Aquaman, he's got kind of a rough edge to him. Like he's got this wild factor when Aquaman's usually like everybody makes fun of him. Oh, all he can do is talk to fish, and they kind of broed him out and fleshed out that personality. I like it. I
I
thought it
think
was
that's real. I'm a Jason Momoa fan, so I was gonna be down to watch this just to see him succeed. I remember from Stargate Atlantis, which is really funny considering the
ah
fact that he's kind of going full circle. But I like him as an actor. I even watched that horrible first season of The Frontier on Netflix because he's in it. Um, so I think with Aquaman, Superman, everybody has a general idea what his personality is, even in movies. Same thing with Batman. Wonder Woman is supposed to be this perfect woman who has all this compassion, but she's a warrior. Aquaman, outside of the fish jokes, never had a really strong personality.
exactly.
So to have it be given to somebody who in real life has a strong personality, that is a little broish, but I
Yeah,
also see he's very much in touch with his Polynesian heritage,
and I love it.
coming from Hawaii. And I think it's perfect that they use that for their Aquaman.
Exactly.
I love the fact that they used his father, who I don't know his name, but I know he's from Star Wars.
Yep.
Um, They had him also having Polynesian tattoos. So it
Yep.
wasn't just a random thing. This is his heritage. So not only is he Aquaman and he's Fishman and he's surface dweller, but he's also has this other layer that can only just grow upon that.
Exactly. And it was done very well. Like, it was nothing glitchy, nothing gaudy about it. It was smooth. And it was like a well layered fleshing out of that. Loved it.
So
And
you,
a wet
you said,
Momoa is always a good Momoa. Love
that
it.
is
All hail the wet Momoa.
that's gonna be a drink, and I don't ever want to see someone order it, but that
Wet
should be
Momoa.
the
I
wet
do.
Momoa.
The wet Momoa.
You said how there was kind of there was definitely a little bit of cheesiness to
It
this
was.
movie. I think for James Wan, this was an idea of kind of getting away from the grim dark of what
Hmm.
Justice League and Suicide Squad even and Batman vs Superman had. I think it didn't always have to be so cheesy. It felt like that line that Marvel used to run where every time there was something serious, there was sometimes a joke. It never gave it the gravitas.
Right.
Um, but it really felt like to me, which made me like it. It just felt like one of those old '80s, '90s like
Exactly.
adventure movies where, yes, of course, the hero saying a cheesy line to the girl, but
It's
we're on an epic
necessary.
adventure.
Right. Like, this is all the heroic conquest. So now we're getting to the part where the hero's gonna take the side quest. He falls in love with the girl, realizes his purpose. Like, it was that 80s setup, but it worked. And it was like the cheesiness, like I said, was to the point where it wasn't too much. Like, right when it started getting too cheesy, they would back off just enough to go back into the movie, and then it was just like a nice wave to it. So it was enjoyable.
So speaking of the hero gets the girl, I think the other main cast member was Amber Heard. Really, it wasn't just
Yeah.
a Aquaman movie. It really was an Aquaman and Mara movie throughout. What did you think of her portrayal of Mara or her interactions with Jason Momoa during this?
I I have no issues with it.
That
The
sounds very
whole
politically correct.
well, cause is
If you have to
because when you
stop
think
one more time, I'm gonna tell you, speak your truth, Queen. Speak your
okay,
truth.
so I'm just not gonna breathe for the next 5 minutes. But like, is okay, and there it is. I the whole strong independent woman kind of I like it, but at the same time, it's been beat into the ground. And so that she's this strong diplomatic woman who does everything cool, and then she just happens to lower her guard enough to fall in love with the hero. Fine. It wasn't bad. It was done tastefully. So that's why I said I have no issues with it. But it did remind me of Wonder Woman a bit. And
So
I
I
just
just want to make sure for our fans who hear this that the woman on this episode has said the strong, independent woman who don't need no man is too much of a cliche nowadays.
now, let me clarify on this before he puts me out here and throws me to the dogs.
Cherry threw
There's
me
nothing
underneath the bus, so you get the dog. Somebody's getting thrown. That's
right. Somebody's getting thrown anywhere, whether it's the pit, the bus, the dogs,
right.
somewhere. So I'm taking my fight with the dogs. But it's just that now, and I get it because that's the world we live in. We want women to feel empowered. We want women to have everything, and I don't mind the changes, but it's just kind of from a comic book lover stance, it's a little bit tiresome every now and then when you have everybody starting off that way. Everybody's strong now. Everybody's doing this. If you fall in love with the hero, that's fine. Some women are like that. And I have to brush back up on how Mira was, but she was kind of. I don't really remember her being like a stand on her own kind of person.
Well, in the new 52, she is very much a not to spoil it for anybody, but it's a comic book, so it's not based on the movie, and they may not go on this. In the new
Right.
52, which happened, she was supposed to be the person that actually killed Aquaman. She was like,
And see, I'm not caught up on the new 52,
yeah.
but like prior to the new 52, I'm like, I don't really remember her being
I think,
that
yeah,
way.
she was kind of in that whole Lois Lane, like she was Aquaman's wife, but that didn't
Right.
really. That meant she could also swim underneath water. She didn't have really. She wasn't a damsel in distress, but she definitely wasn't who we saw in the
Right.
movies.
Like she was a middle ground kind of
Yeah.
person. Like she was not necessarily a sidekick, but she wasn't
Hmm.
a stand on her own kind of person.
Right.
And so that and it not triggered, but like it kind of clicked because I was like, wait, Mira's all super independent. She's throwing around her powers and stuff. It's cool to look at, but I don't remember her being like this. What is this? And then I just kept going because, Wet Momoa, we're going on.
So if we're the Wet Momoa, so if we're gonna be talking about some of the changes that happen now, Black Manta, right?
Yeah.
Played by, and let me get his name correct because Cherry loves him, even though she didn't like his bulbous eyes. Yahya Abdul
Bruh,
Mateen second.
don't get me started on those eyes. Say the name again.
Yahya Abdul Mateen.
Mm-hmm. Good job.
I feel like, and even though his backstory is about him wanting revenge against Aquaman for killing his father, I'm starting to see a lot of villains being sympathetically done in the manner of Killmonger, in the manner of the boy from Civil War, Zemo, in the manner of Wilson Fisk, where they're not just bad for bad's sake.
They're bad for quote unquote good sake.
Right. There's something in their story where you'll be like, well, I kind of agree with you, but if you just didn't kill everyone, maybe you wouldn't be considered a bad guy.
Oh. And even with Thanos.
Yeah.
Like,
perfect example.
Maybe if you would have thought about it, because, and I liked it in the war. Like, I liked that in the Avengers movie, but at the same time, yeah, I agree. They're starting to do that with everybody, where they're graying out the villainry, which they're doing it well, but at the same time, you just got bad villains. Some people are just bad because they want to be bad.
All right. Like, I could understand him being upset at Aquaman and wanting revenge because, that's fine. But even his father's backstory of, my father, your grandfather fought in the navies in the 1890s and he came back to this country and they forgot, and he took this sword and he called himself Manta. It's like, bruh.
Stop it.
Like, y'all could have been totally horrible people, pirates, killing people, nasty. And then that could have been added to the fact that you wanted to go after Aquaman for killing your father. Right. But you seem like a good dude outside of the fact that you're a pirate. Yes.
Yeah. They made it seem like they only do the piracy because the world forgot about them. The world refused to thank them. They did all the dirty work, and now they're just looking out for themselves. They could have left them at pirates. We pillage, we take babies, we kick people, we punch old people in the face, and now I don't like him because he killed my daddy. Like, don't gray out the villainry. If you want to be bad just because you're bad, so be it. You can make a good villain, and the villain's just bad. They don't have to have a human side to them.
I think if you don't want a villain to be a horrible, horrible villain, or you want someone that people will like, then you maybe have to go with the Christopher Nolan Joker scenario, where no one really understood what he was trying to do, but everything he did was clearly just bad for bad sakes, it felt like. Right. You didn't have to make him necessarily sympathetic to make us like him.
Exactly. He could just be bad and we enjoy it because he's bad, and it gives the hero somebody to fight. It gives them a reason. Well, there's just no stopping him, so we have to stop him because if we don't, he will destroy everything. Period.
And in this movie, they had two villains, really, even though one of them wasn't really a villain. It was Ocean Master, played by Patrick Wilson, playing Orm, Aquaman's brother. He similarly was the villain, but he had good reasons, and it left it where you had two villains taking up time that there was no real evil. Like, at some points in the movie, you had Aquaman seeming like the destructive force to this culture.
Exactly. And just a point, because the guy who played Ocean Master for 2 seconds in that movie, I really thought that was Andy Samberg from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I tripped out in the movie because I was like, what is he doing here? And I was like, oh wait, that's not him. So that little input.
And I don't know how you could confuse Patrick Wilson with Andy Samberg.
Because when the hair was slicked back, they look like, if you take away the hair, they look exactly alike in the face.
Okay, they really don't, but okay. I'm just gonna agree to disagree. Okay. But I really liked Ocean Master. I felt like, okay, I'll say why I liked him, and then you can tell me why I'm wrong. I liked him one because I do like the villain who's not a villain. Like he was doing again the Killmonger thing. I am fighting for my people. The ocean takes up 75% of this world and it's being destroyed because of you surface dwellers. You guys don't even know we exist, so we need to show you we exist so this can stop. I loved his costume. It was as comic book authentic. They
Yeah.
even had the mask be able to show emotion, which they need to do for
Yes.
Batman at this point. Because if you can make Ocean Master have it, and that's supposed to be in the same world, there's no excuse for Batman not to have his white eyes.
Exactly.
I didn't like Patrick Wilson so much as him because he just seemed a little bland to me, and I don't think that's Patrick Wilson's fault. I just think compared to Jason Momoa's author, it's just almost two separate things.
Mhm.
But I did like his character, and I liked the fact, spoilers of course, that he didn't die at the end, and they were even willing to talk. It was just a huge, which is really funny because it's the holiday times. It was just a huge family fight without the food. But
True.
now you can tell me why you hated him because you look
I
like
didn't
Andy
hate
Samberg.
him. I just didn't like him. Now I agree with you with the costume. I agree with you with the mask. I was like, oh, that's dope. And I do agree that they should do the same thing with Batman. I just felt that Ocean Master was bland, and that's why I didn't like him. He felt more whiny to me because the whole yeah, I want to do this for my people, but it's more under like I kept getting this underlying feeling of oh well, my mom's dead because of this guy and everybody's comparing, he's supposed to be on the throne, but I'm here, I'm doing this, it should be me, win. And I don't know, I felt like he was just kind of meh,
So if you
like kind of
so if you were the queen of Wakanda for like 25 years of your life and you've done everything and your whole kingdom loves you and then some random hillbilly from Kansas City who just so happened to be your half brother or half sister came through trying to take your whole kingdom from you cuz they might be older. You ain't complaining.
but this isn't about me. This is about
Oh,
them
okay. Okay.
and how I feel about them.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
I felt he was I just felt he was whiny. Like and I know in my I'd fight him to the death too. But it
Right.
just I didn't like him. I stand by it. I didn't like him.
Which
Maybe
is
I'll
fair.
like him later, but as of right now, I don't like him.
Which is fair. I definitely see a blandness. Like I said, I don't know if that's Patrick Wilson himself. I just think he wasn't written really well. And then again, you
That
have to
may
be
be
written certainly well because honestly, outside of Jason Momoa, everyone felt kind of flat to me just because he plays it so big.
and he's such a yeah his personality takes over everything, and like you were saying, that's how he is as a person. So it was like everybody else did kind of seem a little more mellow when compared to Jason Momoa because he's just such a large like
Presence,
presence. Yeah, he has a huge presence to him and everything he does is
large
big.
presence.
Even
Just
when he just held the trident and like looked through it, that felt monumental. Mostly because he's fine, but like there was like it just monumental to Wet Momoa. I'm gonna keep saying that, but
mm,
it was, like everything he does has a presence to it,
even in
and I
the
love it.
action scenes, which were beautiful in this whole movie, I really loved how they did action in the
Yes,
water and used the fact that they are in water. I love the fact every
yes.
time he fought, he kind of got into a haka stance. It wasn't just a
It was
Batman
one.
stance. It
Oh, you caught it. I was wondering if it was like, is everybody going to see this? I'm like, he's doing it. They're paying homage to his lineage. This is beautiful. Continue. Sorry.
yeah. So even when he would do that, it would be very big. Ocean Master, even in all of his things, or when they were fighting some of the trench, but he was always just a full presence. He commands the scene. I really really like that.
Yep.
Um, what do you think this leads to, real quick? The future of the DC movies. Do you think this is going to show them that they can get away from the grimdark? Because Aquaman is foolish. This is a lot of bright colors. His
Yeah.
final outfit is literally him
It's
in bright
orange.
orange and green, and he's floating in the water with his hair flipped back. Like that's the final scene of the movie, and it works.
It was beautiful. I loved it. Should have took a picture.
Okay.
As for what this pertains to the DC universe as the movies continue, I think it shows them that they don't have to go the Marvel route, that they
Mm-hmm.
can do their own thing and it will succeed long as we have fine people like Jason Momoa. But just and on topic with his outfit, I'm not 100% in love with it yet. The whole dotted part of the Aquaman suit, it bothers me a little bit,
The
but
fish
I know
scale,
it'll grow on me. Say what?
the fish scale aspect of
The
it.
It doesn't look like fish scales to me though.
Mm. I actually wanted him to have. I didn't like the one he had in the Justice League movie. I thought that was a little bit too much. I did
Yeah.
like that they streamlined it and made it brighter, but I was kind of okay with how they were first showing Aquaman, where it was going to be him without an out, like not armor, but something that seemed very made sense for being someone from the water. Like
Yeah.
if anybody's listening to this, if you look at the old promotion for when they first said Jason Momoa was going to be Aquaman, the look they gave him is completely different from the look they have now, which I like it now because it is comic book representative, but I actually did prefer kind of the old aspect. Maybe they just could have lightened it up or did a combination of the two. But it is what it.
Possibly. Yeah.
So
But
that's
I do think it does have hope for what they are going to
yeah.
do. I think they're finally trying to get out of the shadow of Marvel and do their own thing, which
Mhm.
I pray to God that they do, because they need to stop trying to compare with Marvel and just let DC be DC. So
True.
I think it would be good.
So I
And they
think
need to replace the Flash.
oh my gosh, give it. Yeah,
No,
that'll be a
replace.
conversation. Okay, yeah, replace the Flash. Yeah, I agree. I think the
Kill
Flash.
him off. Find another Speed Force. Go to another alternative universe. Bring me another Flash. Kill that one off.
You haven't even seen a trailer yet. You need to give him
I
a
don't
chance.
care. I
Okay,
saw enough.
get yourself a wet mo and calm down.
I will.
So, what would you grade this on? The usual F through A.
Mm, believe it or not, I probably can only give it a B plus. I liked it. I love Jason Momoa. That'll probably bring it up to an A minus, but B plus overall. It's a solid movie. I like it. It was long. Um, it was. I guess because I don't know. I can't bring myself to put it past a B plus overall. I liked it. It wasn't a great movie, but it was good. It was a solid movie. It was better than what I thought it was going to be, and DC did put a lot of effort into it. But
Facts.
I'm kind of stuck on a B plus.
I'm gonna give it a solid B. I don't know if I can do a B plus because with Into the Spider Verse I gave that an A, and I think that is a vastly better comic book and favorite movie to me. But it is a solid B. This had no right to be as good as it was, and it was good. The
Agreed.
visuals were good. Jason Momoa showed he is Aquaman. Even though some of the other characters were flat, I think they have the potential to grow, and I liked the story building done in this. I love the set pieces. I love the action, and I am interested to see what the next one will be. So I'm gonna give it a B.
Sounds good. And yeah, Spider-Man, Spider-Verse was a A plus for me, and it's probably a mistake that I watched them both in the same week.
Yeah. Generally, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is it for us, guys. Again, always subscribe to us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Stitcher. Pretty much, if you can get a podcast or listen to a podcast, we're on there. Always make sure to give us 5 stars and love so that more people can share the NJL. Follow us on Twitter at Black Nerdcast. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Negro Justice League. You can always check out NegroJusticeLeague.com, our website, where you're also able to buy all of our merch and see some of our previous podcast episodes, as well as sometimes we do stories and reviews, which I hope you guys will like. Follow us on twitch.tv/Black Nerdcast. We do streams throughout the week, Tuesday usually through Friday. We have a bunch of NJLers, Cherry, Chesterfield, a whole bunch of people, and we do try to play things that people like to watch if we're going to die, just so you can smile. Rate and review us as always, and we will gonna be gone for the remainder of the holiday, so you probably won't be hearing back from us until after the first week of January. But make sure to stay around your family and friends and loved ones, and just have a good time and have happy holidays. This is your boy Jay signing off.